Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be talking through a couple of my favorite plays on Prizepicks for today's slate for Wednesday, March the 23rd. Big slate today, 11 games, so it was pretty easy to find a good amount of props that stood out. We do have a lot of options on the board already. I don't think the entire board has been posted yet. I'm still waiting for a few teams to be added, but there's a lot that stood out to me. I got 4 picks that I will share in this video. Before we do share these 4 picks, I want to recap yesterday. We actually had a really good day yesterday. We went 4-0 on the 4 picks we gave out yesterday. So if you tailed the picks yesterday, hopefully you were able to win some money. Went 4-0, got every pick right. The 4 picks we gave out, RJ Barrett over on fantasy points. That one hit somewhat early, I think like late in the third quarter. RJ Barrett went over. We hit the over on Danilo Gallinari fantasy points. It was kind of close. He went over by a few points. Late in the fourth quarter, he got there, grabbed a few rebounds, made a couple baskets. We got the over on Gallo's fantasy points. The over on Mo Bamba's fantasy points, that one was definitely a sweat. Bamba had, I think, 18.9 fantasy points after he subbed out in the third quarter. And I wasn't sure if he was going to come back in the game. I don't know why, but for some reason, the Magic coach just never plays Mo Bamba in the fourth quarter. But Mo Bamba subbed in the fourth quarter with like 2 minutes left, hit a 3, and that put him over his fantasy point projection. So Bamba hit, and then Drew Holiday went over 18.5 points. Kind of a slow start for him. He had like 7 points at halftime, but had a big second half. I think he finished with like 26 points or something. So we went 4-0 yesterday, hit all 4 picks. Let's try and do it again for today's slate. As always, guys, with the 4 picks I give out, you can kind of choose how you want to play them. If you want to do a 4-pick play, a 4-pick flex play, 4-pick power play, you can obviously do that. I do usually put down a 4-pick power play for myself, just in the chance that I do hit every pick. I want that 10x payout. But I think the smartest way to play is take the 4 picks and do mix and match them. Do a 2-pick with maybe the top 2 picks, and then do a 2-pick with the other 2 picks, and then maybe you do a 3-pick, take 3 picks, and do a 3-pick with those. So I give out 4 plays. I'm trying to get all 4 of these plays right, but obviously that's not going to happen every single day. We're not going to get every play right every single day. It doesn't work like that. So my goal is to get as many picks right as I can. Even if we go 3-1, I consider that a pretty solid day, especially if you mix and match the plays. You should be able to profit on the days we go 3-1. And then obviously yesterday going 4-0 was a really big day. So let's try and go 4-0 again. Hopefully we can hit all 4 of these plays. We're going to start off with the fantasy points category. This is something that I was on yesterday. A lot of fantasy point projections that I thought were too low, and obviously they all hit. So I like going back to them. There's a couple of fantasy points projections that I think are a little bit too low today, specifically these Hornets guys. The one guy I want to talk about is LaMelo. So LaMelo over 38 fantasy points is a prop that really stood out to me at first look. So we can take a look at the last 5 games for LaMelo. He has gone over this prop in 4 out of his last 5. Last game he did not go over, but it was literally by 0.8 fantasy points. He needed like 1 fantasy point to go over. We've seen the minutes for LaMelo start to trend up lately, which is kind of what makes me want to go to this prop. His minutes were not great for a while. Like, he wasn't playing super high minutes. Like, even in close games, they were only playing LaMelo like 28, 30 minutes. Well, now over his last 5 games against the Pelicans on March 11th, that was a blowout. He still played 31 minutes. Against OKC, I believe was a blowout as well. They won by 18. He still played 30 minutes. A close game against Atlanta, he played 36 minutes. Against Dallas was a blowout. He played 30 minutes. And the last game against the Pelicans was a close game, and he got 32 minutes. I think if today's game against the Knicks stays close, which it should, I think the spread right now is like maybe 2 or 3 points. We should get like 32 to 34 minutes from LaMelo. Maybe he gets like 36 minutes. You can take a look at his rates this season with Charlotte. Obviously, LaMelo is a productive player. He's a high-usage player. He does everything when he's on the floor. Got a 27.5% usage rate on the season, averaging 1.34 fantasy points per minute. And per 36, he's averaging 48 fantasy points per 36. If LaMelo Ball plays 36 minutes today, I feel very confident that he goes over 38 fantasy points. Now, will he play 36 minutes? Maybe not, but I think he gets low 30s at least, maybe 30 to 32. Just with how he can stuff the stat sheet, with how he can score, rebound, get assists. He gets defensive stats as well, and defensive stats are really huge on Prizepicks because they're worth 3 points each. We see games where LaMelo gets like 3 or 4 steals. I think the game against Dallas, he had 4 steals in that game. He can just do everything, and 38 fantasy points I think is too low for LaMelo. Now that his minutes are starting to trend up a little bit, we've seen them play. We see the Hornets are playing LaMelo alongside Isaiah Thomas, which is something they weren't doing for a while. Isaiah Thomas was kind of taking some minutes away from LaMelo, but now they've been playing IT and LaMelo together. IT is a high usage player off the bench, so I think him being out there is not great for LaMelo, but the fact that Borrego will play him and IT together, I think is good for LaMelo's minutes, and we've seen that be the case lately. LaMelo's been playing 30-plus minutes now in 5 straight games, so Over 38 fantasy points for LaMelo, I do like quite a bit. For what it's worth, he had a huge game against the Knicks earlier this season. He went for over like 60 fantasy points. He had 12 points, 17 rebounds, 9 assists, a block, and 5 steals. So like huge game from LaMelo against the Knicks earlier this season. Don't see why I don't see why he can't have another big game here. I definitely think he goes over 38 fantasy points. As long as the minutes are there, he stays out of foul trouble, the game stays close. Feel pretty confident about this prop hitting. So like that one quite a bit. And then the other three props I like today are all points props. So we're going to go to the Mavs, who are in a situation today without Luka Doncic. Without Luka Doncic, we should expect really big roles for both Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Brunson. And we actually saw earlier this season, it was on March the 5th, Luka Doncic was out that game against Sacramento, and both Brunson and Dinwiddie had big games. Dinwiddie played 36 minutes, took 22 shots, had 36 points, the most points he's had since he's been with Dallas. And I think Brunson played like 37 minutes. He took like 15 shots. I think he had like 24 points or something like that. But I'm going to be taking the over 20.5 points for Spencer Dinwiddie. Obviously, the matchup is fantastic here against Houston. Luka being out is huge for Dinwiddie's usage. You can take a look at this season with Luka off the floor. Took Porzingis and THJ off the floor too, but I think Luka being off the floor is the big one. Without Luka on the floor, Dinwiddie's played 157 minutes with him off, 33.9% usage rate, averaging per 36, just over 30 points per 36. So, on average, when he plays, his minutes without Luka, if he plays 36 minutes, he's going to average around 30 points. And last time Luka was out, they played Spencer Dinwiddie 36 minutes, and he had 36 points. So I don't see any reason why Spencer Dinwiddie can't have a big scoring game here. Him and Brunson should be dominating the usage. Those should be the two guys really taking all the shots. I was looking at Jalen Brunson's over in points. That was another prop I was kind of on. Just for this video, though, we're going to hit on the Dinwiddie prop. But I really like these Mavs guys. It's a great matchup. No Luka being out there is just huge for their usage. They're just going to have the ball in their hands way more. They're going to be able to take way more shots. And I think we get a pretty big scoring game from Dinwiddie. I know he's only hit this in one of his last 5 games, but obviously that's meaningless for today. We don't care about last 5 games. We care about today. And with today, no Luka, that's huge for Dinwiddie. We saw him have a huge game last time Luka was out. Don't see why he can't have another huge game here in a great matchup against the Rockets. So really like the over 20.5 points for Spencer Dinwiddie. That's the second prop I'm on today. And then the other 2 props I like are both on Memphis. So we're going to take the over 16.5 points for Jaren Jackson Jr. This is a prop that can be frustrating at times because Jaren Jackson Jr. does get in foul trouble a lot. Last slate, I was on his over in points against Houston, and he got in foul trouble, and it was a blowout. So basically everything went wrong for Triple J against Houston last game. Against Indiana, though, I was on his points prop that day with Ja out, and he did get there. He had 19 points in a blowout. He didn't even play his full minutes. Well, today's game against Brooklyn is expected to stay close. I think the spread is just a couple points right now. So we should get a close game here, and you can actually take a look at the usage this season. I talked about this in the last time I was on Triple J. When Ja Morant is off the floor, Triple J actually leads the team in usage. 30.7% usage rate for Jaren Jackson Jr. with Ja off the floor this season. His usage goes up 5%. He gets the biggest bump in usage when Ja's out. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for Triple J per 36. He's averaging almost 26 points per 36. Now, will Triple J play 36 minutes here? Probably not. He usually doesn't play that many minutes, but he should play 30 to 32 minutes as long as he can stay out of foul trouble. This dude is always in foul trouble, and usually when he doesn't hit his props is because he gets in foul trouble. But as long as he stays out of foul trouble today, I think Triple J is going to score 17 points. The usage is there when Ja's out. He's going to take plenty of shots. He's got to stay on the floor. That's always the issue with him. He's probably going to guard Kevin Durant, and that definitely is a matchup that I do worry about. Jaren Jackson Jr. picking up fouls, guarding KD. But in the end, man, foul trouble is just, it's something you kind of can predict. When a guy like Triple J, who's always in foul trouble, you can kind of predict like matchups where he might get in foul trouble. But in the end, like, it's not something that, like, I'm not going to bet unders just because I think a guy may get in foul trouble. That's just something, it's hard to predict, honestly. Even though Jaren Jackson Jr. is a guy that's, gets a lot of fouls and fouls a lot, I still think if he stays out of foul trouble here, plays his full minutes, he's going to score 17 points. The usage is there when Ja's off the floor. Just stay out of foul trouble, please. Please, Triple J, for one time, just stay out of foul trouble. So I'm taking the over 16.5 points for Jaren Jackson Jr. This might be the riskiest play just because if he gets in foul trouble, there's definitely a possibility he goes under that. But my God, like, even last game, he played like 20 minutes because he was in foul trouble and it was a blowout, and he still scored 15 points in 20 minutes. It's like if he plays 30 minutes today, he's going to score 17 points. So that's why I'm taking the over. Just got to hope the dude stays out of foul trouble for once in his life. The fourth and final pick, though, is on Memphis as well. Taking the over 12.5 points for Tyus Jones. Now, I was debating between going over on his points or going over on fantasy points. Ultimately, I sided with points just because when Ja is out, we will see Tyus Jones, start at point guard, play pretty good minutes. In the games that have stayed close, when Ja has missed, we've seen Tyus Jones play like 32, 34 minutes. You can actually take a look at his games this season without Ja Morant. I meant to show this earlier, but these are Triple J's games without Ja Morant. So these are all the games that Ja has been out this season. And as you can see, Triple J has scored 17 or more points in a lot of these games. 17, 25, 27, 26, 25, 22, 21, 26, 23. Only games where he didn't go over 17 points. Last game against Houston, played 21 minutes, blowout, foul trouble. The game against Portland, 20 minutes, 6 fouls. He fouled out in 20 minutes. The game against Portland, 24 minutes. Looks like he had 4 fouls. That might have been a blowout. I don't really know, honestly. Miami, tough matchup. Dallas, tougher matchup. Obviously, today's matchup against Brooklyn's not that bad. So, that's just another thing. Like, Triple J's done really well when Ja's been out. He's hit his points prop in, I'll pull it up. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 out of 3, 4, 5. So, 10 out of 15 games without Ja this season, Triple J has scored 17 points or more. I'll just add that. But let's talk about Tyus Jones now. So, Tyus Jones, you can take a look at his points without Ja this season, what he's done. So last game against Houston, just barely went over, had 13 points, did play 30 minutes, got pulled a little bit early because that game did blow out. The game against Indiana was a blowout. He only played 26 minutes. Game against the Pelicans, 32 minutes, big scoring game, 27 points. 31 minutes against the Clippers, big scoring game, 18 points. Now, Tyus Jones is not a guy that he's not an aggressive offensive player. He's a good scorer, but for some reason when he's out there, he facilitates a lot. But he can score, and he is a good shooter. He can shoot threes. He can drive to the basket. I think he can score 13 points when he plays his full minutes without Ja. Now, he can have those games where he gets like 9 or 10 assists, and that's one of the reasons I was debating between fantasy points or points, just because I could see Tyus Jones finishing with like 10 points, but still getting over his fantasy point projection because he can get 9 or 10 assists. He can get a lot of steals, and steals are obviously huge for your fantasy point projections. But for the sake of this video, we're going to take the over 12.5 points for Tyus Jones. Just with the matchup against Brooklyn, I like the spot a lot. I think the minutes will be there as long as the game stays close. Only reason he hasn't hit some of his points profit lately without Ja is just because they've been it's been blowouts. Against Indiana, that was a blowout. He did hit last game against Houston just barely. Today's game against Brooklyn should stay close. We should get full minutes from Tyus Jones, and 13 points I think is doable for him. So these are 4 picks I like for today at first look, guys. Again, recording this video around noon on Wednesday, so these are just kind of my first looks of the slate. I will take a deeper look at the slate and start to take a look at other options on the board later in the day. I do post more plays over on Patreon, so if you've been tailing the YouTube plays every day, I know we haven't done great on the YouTube plays, but we had a big day yesterday. If you've been tailing the YouTube plays and you want to get access to more of my favorite plays on Patreon, favorite plays on Prizepicks, I do give those out on Patreon each day. You can check that out. Link down below in the description. Also, forgot to mention that if you are new to Prizepicks and you want to sign up over there, use code NOAH. When you sign up, they'll match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And you can tell the picks I give in this video. You can make some entries for yourself. It's up to you. But definitely sign up with my code so you get that deposit bonus. But yeah, guys, these are 4 picks I like for today. Again, if you want to do a 4-pick power or 4-pick flex play, I think that's totally fine. I personally did put a 4-pick power in just because if I do get all 4 picks right, I want to have a shot at winning, 10x my money. But I think the smartest way to play is take maybe 2 of the picks. So take obviously you can't do a 2-pick with 2 guys on the same team. So do a 2-pick with LaMelo and Jackson Jr. or do a 2-pick with LaMelo and Tyus Jones, and then do a 2-pick with Dinwiddie and Triple J, or Dinwiddie and Tyus Jones. I think that's the smartest way to play, so that even if we maybe get a pick wrong, or maybe we get 2 picks wrong, maybe you could still profit, because if you do a 2-pick and you hit the 2 picks that we get right, you can still profit on the day. So it's up to you how you want to play these. I did a 4-pick with these 4. I also did a 2-pick with LaMelo and Triple J. I did a 2-pick with Tyus Jones and Dinwiddie. Those are the entries that I put in. I'll have more entries posted throughout the day on Patreon. I'll share some plays I like over there. Again, if you want the Patreon plays, you can check that out. Link down below in the description. But best of luck tonight, guys. Appreciate you watching the video. Hopefully, we can go 4-0 once again, continue the sweep, make some money tonight. Best of luck if you're tailing, and we'll see you in the next video, guys.